Good morning. I'm Charlie Singleshin, and this is Lena. Our pronouns are she, her, hers. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love.
Hi, I'm Carol Storr, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a member of the Welcoming Congregation team. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of a loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Hello there. Our name is Ellie. Our pronouns are she, her. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages and different abilities, different backgrounds, different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey. Our opening hymn will be We Are from the General Assembly. It's number 1051 in the hymnal.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great vision. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be with you this morning. My name is Alex, and I'm here for the first time. I wonder if there's anyone else who's here for the first time. If you are also a first timer, I'm so happy that I'm not alone and that you're here this morning. It's lovely to be together today. I have a story for you this morning. How does that sound? Do y'all like stories? Yay! Great. The story even has props, so I'm very excited about it. It's called The Story of Bat, and it's a story I wrote myself. Here goes. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in a faraway land, a terrible fight broke out between the mammals and the birds. Now, as you might know, mammals are all the animals that are furry and have teeth and carry their babies inside them until they're born, right? And birds are all the animals who can fly and have beaks or bills and lay eggs in nests. You see, the mammals didn't trust the birds, and the birds didn't trust the mammals. They were just so different from each other that they didn't understand each other. The mammals didn't know what it was like to see the world from way up above. And the birds didn't know what it was like to be covered in fur instead of fluffy feathers. So the birds and the mammals started to fight. But there was one animal who didn't understand the fighting. It was Bat. Bat couldn't pick a side in the fight because Bat felt like she was a little of both. After all, bats are furry and have teeth, right? But they also have wings and can fly. Bat was friends with both birds and mammals. She would go flying with her bird friends and snuggle with her furry mammal friends. When the fight broke out, Bat was really sad. She went to both the mammals and the birds and begged them to stop the violence. Look at me, she said. I lost my place. Look at me. I can fly, yet I'm also furry. I'm proof that there's no real divide between mammal and bird. Don't you see? She said to the other animals. You're not that different from each other. We all feel love and hunger and pain. But the other animals wouldn't listen. They had been told all their lives that birds and mammals were at odds with each other and had nothing in common. They had been taught to fear one another. Pick a side and stay there, Tiger ordered Bat at the mammals' camp. Stop pretending to be something you're not. What are you really? Eagle screeched the next day at the birds' camp. I am both and neither, Bat said. But that was inconceivable to the other animals. Even her bird and mammal friends laughed in Bat's face, made fun of her, pushed her aside, and kept fighting each other. At first, Bat was too sad to do anything more. But then she realized that there were other animals like her, animals that were different from the others. Who do you think she went and found? Platypus. Platypus is amazing. Look at this animal. So amazing. Platypus has a bill and lays eggs like a bird, but has no wings and is furry like a mammal. Bat also found flying squirrel, who is furry yet flies through the air. Bat, platypus, and flying squirrel went and found ostrich and penguin and kiwi, who are all birds who can't fly. So they weren't part of the fighting. Now there were more animals. Look at them all. who could help the mammals and the birds understand that not all birds are the same and not all mammals are the same, and they should stop fighting and get to know each other better. It was hard, but eventually the other animals finally listened and stopped fighting. They started realizing how amazing it was that there were so many differences among them, that birds can be as small as tiny hummingbird, or as massive as albatross, not to scale. Actually, even more amazing than this. And that some were even more similar to each other than to their own kind. Owl and hedgehog realized that they both liked staying awake at night, and loon and otter realized that they both loved water. Eventually, everyone forgot that it had been Bat, who was the bravest one of all and had stopped the fighting. And that was just fine with Bat. What mattered most to her was that all the animals were at peace and that she'd made a whole bunch of new friends like her who were different in the coolest ways. The end. I hope you liked my story. For me, being a Unitarian Universalist means being friends with people who are different from me in lots of different ways, and loving folks who are different from me, and learning more about the world because of it, and then fighting for each other when we're not being treated well. That's part of what it means to live our faith. So I hope you'll join me in that practice. Thank you. And now I think we're going to hear from Kate.
I remembered to unmute myself this time, y'all. Okay. Every Sunday we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash, oh, sorry, I need to introduce myself. My name is Kate. I'm on the Welcoming Congregation Committee and my pronouns are she, hers. Now I can go. Every Sunday we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in our community, our Change for Change partners. This month, our Change for Change partner is the Tree Bank Foundation of Oklahoma. The Tree Bank is a nonprofit dedicated to improving the livability of communities throughout Oklahoma, providing trees to public and nonprofit property and educational resources. Funds collected through Change for Change will be dedicated to the Orchard Project, which plants fruit trees at Oklahoma food banks. You may wish to make your donation using a credit card through our website, or this could be a good time to find your checkbook, write out a check, and put it aside to mail to First Unitarian on Monday morning. Let today's offering reflect our highest aspirations for the work of this church in the world. And I'm back. Y'all couldn't get enough of me, right? Okay, since I already introduced myself, I'm going to skip that part. Some of y'all have heard my whole how I'm here spiel before, but in case you haven't, the short version is that this is the first church I've ever been to. I started attending in 2016, shortly after moving to Oklahoma, solely because there was a choir. I knew churches had choirs, and I hoped I could at least tolerate the kind of service and ideals I knew UU churches are famous for. Church has become a familiar and warm thing, where I can be who I am and have my opinions, and I'm safe. I've felt like I can be my whole self, unapologetically, and I won't be kicked out for it. Being in choir is like having a whole mess of aunties and uncles and cousins who are all looking out for me, and I look out for them. The sermons often make me think. We aren't told to hate anyone, quite the opposite, and I can sure get on board with that, even when it gets really, really hard to love my real neighbors. The first time I said I'm asexual out loud was here. This church has been my heart's home away from home, a member of my family, and a growing part of my life for 5 years now. I love this place, and I love all of you. I love us. I love what we can accomplish together. That's partly why I joined the welcoming congregation team, and I love being a part of that team. A small but very determined group of folks. I love this church. It's my family. And sometimes families have to have difficult conversations. So please, please hear my heart with your heart. Feel my next words in the place where your love lives. We have got to do better. By we, I mean us cisgender people. In the past 6 months, I have witnessed the most appalling and abhorrent transphobia from members of our congregation. At first, I couldn't believe it, even though I'd heard of it happening previously. I was, and I am, horrified. I'd thought, but we're better at this now, surely. The church I've made my heart's home would never, ever do that. I have faith in us. We're going to do better. I'm going to be so proud of us. Well, I was wrong. I'm not proud of us, not especially. The church I've thought was so open, so welcoming, so caring, and so open-minded. My extended family has, in a twist I never predicted, despite my readily admitted cynicism, betrayed my rare streak of naive optimism. So, what am I to do? I can either stay quiet about it, or I can do what any self-respecting person should do, and I can say something about it. I can say I am disappointed in the way I can only ever be with people that I care deeply about. I can tell you I have heard the hurtful words. And I can tell you too, when transgender people are not heartedly welcomed, neither are any of the rest of us wholeheartedly welcome. That I sometimes no longer feel welcomed because they do not feel welcomed. That our words have so much power, a great and terrible and beautiful and ugly power. And that in this, our words have too often been used to a terrible and ugly effect. But I can also tell you that I firmly believe that this church, our church, we are more than capable of becoming everything and more that I naively thought us to be already. Capable even of surpassing those wildest dreams. It is well within our hearts and our minds and our souls to build bridges in our shared community and to learn. We are absolutely 100% capable of this. And yes, it will be work. It'll be hard work, but we have to do it. There is no alternative, not if we want to live up to our highest aspirations for the work of this church in the world. Because if we cannot work within, how are we ever going to work without? Because I believe in our church, in us, here are some of the resources I've learned from the most and the best. First and foremost, the Trans Inclusion in Congregations course, which will be run again in the 21-22 church year, hopefully, or which you can access yourself for free by contacting me, and I'll leave my email in the chat, or literally anyone else in the Welcoming Congregation Committee. We will get you how to log in. In addition to the course itself, there are an abundance of wonderful resources associated with the course that are available once you log in. And it's partially taught by Alex, who's our guest today. Second, Vlad's page of tips for allies of transgender people is a wonderful resource. This page is full of more education that you could possibly even shake a stick at. We can be better, and we must be better. Thank you.
Wow. Gosh, I'm supposed to do the prayer, and my heart is so full right now. Thank you so much. So in that vein, I welcome all of you to a spirit of prayer and reflection. My name is Loriana Lee Knapp. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am going to be reading a prayer written by Lynn Cox. The title is The Heart of Both and. So both -and. Spirit of life, ever adapting and renewing. We come together this morning with yearnings that do not match. We yearn for stability, for even one moment of feeling like we know what is going on, for the ability to predict and prepare for what is coming next. Yet we also yearn for change. We ache for a world that turns aside from racism, violence, dehumanization, and disregard for suffering. We pray for a change in the illness, grief, isolation, incarceration, and vulnerability of our loved ones. We reach for connections that will remind us that we are worthy as we are, and we reach for connections that will help us to become our best selves. Hold us in the heart of both and cradle us in that mystery. Cherish us in that eternal presence of love and encourage us on the path of growth and development. As individuals and as a people, help us to become who we are called to be. Lead us to open pathways to deeper wisdom through reconciliation, self-respect, and mutual respect, compassion, owning and making amends for our mistakes. Source of wonder, move us to express and live in gratitude for the beauty of this world, the loving people in our lives, this day of possibility. To this, we add the meditations of our hearts as we enter a time of silence.
Thank you so much for that prayer, Loriana. Did I say your name right? Yay! And thank you so much, Kate, for sharing so deeply and so vulnerably this morning about your hurt, about your love, and about your hope for this beloved church. It's really easy for me to come in here and tell y'all about my own struggles and hopes as somebody who's not part of this community. But it's really, really hard when this is your family. It is hard to share what's on your heart, and it's hard to receive what's on other people's hearts. So I just want to pause and offer gratitude to everyone here for sharing and receiving. Thank you for that. So, thank you also for the gift of getting to share in this wonderful community this morning. And thank you to the Welcoming Congregation team for the invitation to be here with you all today. Also, I totally forgot to share my pronouns earlier. Thank you, everyone who's making so much wonderful space for that. My pronouns are Z and per, which is short for person, and they work just like he and her. I'm joining you today from my home in Western Massachusetts, but I'm originally from Wisconsin. So I am a proud Midwesterner and also a proud raised UU. My parents joined a UU church outside Milwaukee when I was 6. And my dad is the son and grandson of Presbyterian ministers. And my mom was raised a devout atheist in small town Wisconsin. The family joke is that when they became UU, my dad's whole family said, "Oh no, he's lost religion." And my mom's whole family said, "Oh no, she's found religion." Which I really think says it all, right? About this wonderful little religion of ours. I'm so grateful that my parents joined my home church. It was a wonderful place to grow up. I was taught to honor my own truth. I came to believe that living our faith meant working to make the world a better place and fighting oppression. And as a queer and trans person, I was able to grow up without any sense that these deep truths about myself were at odds with my faith, which is really, really remarkable. It's no small thing, right? In fact, I credit being raised UU to a large degree with my ability to be the person I am today. My full, authentic, queer, gender fluid, flamboyantly masculine and feminine, all at one time, neither here nor there. Mary Martin as Peter Pan, bow tie flashing, motorcycle driving, roller derby playing, femme boy self. And yet, even though I was raised here in Unitarian Universalism, even though this religion has given me so much, I have never found a congregational home. You see, not actively making it harder for me to be myself in the world was not enough for me to feel a sense of unconditional welcome and belonging in my church as I grew into adulthood. Nor have I ever felt that way in any of the dozens of UU churches I've been to since. I've never felt like any of them were places where I could fully get my spiritual needs met. Why? Well, before I answer that question, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about welcome and what it means to be a welcoming congregation. I often say that I'm in the ministry of welcome. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Welcoming Congregation Program is a UU program that churches can go through to intentionally increase their welcome and inclusion of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer people, and really everyone who isn't 100% straight and cisgender. And First Unitarian Church of Oklahoma City was recognized as a welcoming congregation exactly 23 years ago in July 1998. That is fantastic. I want to give a shout out to anyone who was here back then and maybe was even a part of making that happen. Thank you. Now, I want to let you in on a little secret. When churches first go through a welcoming congregation program, they often focus on those people out there, right? They talk about welcome as if it's something we need to do for them. But here's the secret: being a welcoming congregation isn't about them, it's about us. It's about what our definition of us is, and it's what we're willing to do to expand that definition. The program was started in 1990, the year before my parents joined my home church, because of a shocking recognition that our denomination's vision and values around welcome were not being practiced when it came to gay, lesbian, and bisexual people at the time. Attitudes, assumptions, and beliefs about LGBT people that were an ingrained part of our larger culture were being unconsciously perpetuated in our congregations. We didn't think that LGBT people were really a part of us. Non straight people were them. We learned that real welcome takes hard work. It takes actively fighting the messages we're taught by our larger culture about what and who is normal and right and most valuable. And it also takes transforming the idea that we are straight, that straight is the default for our community. Back in the 80s, before the Welcoming Congregation program began, we thought of ourselves as one of the good religions, right? One of the ones that didn't condemn gay people. After all, we'd been ordaining LGBT people for years and even passed a resolution supporting same sex services of union. But as a collective whole, most UUs still had an expectation that their kids would grow up to be straight, that their minister would be straight. LGBT people weren't bad and wrong, but they were still them, not us. You see, the transformation we were invited into back then wasn't from gay people are bad to gay people are not bad. It was from gay people are them to gay people are us. It was from we welcome gay people to we are people of all sexual orientations. Do you feel the difference? At its best, being a welcoming congregation invites us to reflect and practice redefining our understanding of who we are, who we consider to be one of us. It offers us the chance to see this practice as part of our purpose as a community, growing our understanding of us wider and wider until eventually every living thing is us and there's no longer any them. Can you imagine that? My friends, I can't find a church because I have never found a UU congregation where I felt as though I was fully part of the us. I've never found a UU church where I felt like all of who I am can shine, where my spirit can be fully fed, where my gifts can be fully and truly received. And I'm not alone. Despite 3 decades of the Welcoming Congregation program, according to a recent denomination-wide survey, 72% of trans UUs don't feel fully included in our congregations. 72%. And that's not because the average UU congregation is actively hateful or unfriendly to trans people, right? But there's more to welcome than friendliness. The truth is, the entire 3 decades that I've been a UU, Unitarian Universalism has told the world and has told me that LGBTQ people are welcome here. But that entire time, I have experienced that welcome as conditional. My whole life, I've known that I could attend any UU congregation and not be actively rejected, as long as I wore certain clothes and said certain things and acted a certain way. I've known that I could be openly queer and trans, which is no small thing, as long as I didn't get too demanding about my basic needs around pronouns and bathrooms. I've known that because I'm white and college educated and non disabled, I can appear to fit in a way that many of my people can't. I've known that because of this, people would be friendly to me. But that's not the welcome I need. I need a welcome that isn't conditional. I need a welcome that goes beyond friendliness, goes beyond tolerance or acceptance. I need a welcome that's celebratory, a welcome that transforms hearts, yours and mine. In the program, Trans Inclusion in Congregations, which Kate was just talking about, and which my bestie, Reverend Michael Slack, and I created, and a number of you have been engaging with this year, we discuss welcome using a really powerful model from Reverend Canon Stephanie Spellers, a leader in the Episcopal Church. She talks about welcome in 3 ways that welcome shows up in congregations that are actively seeking to be welcoming. And those 3 ways are invitation, inclusion, and radical welcome. Now, according to Reverend Canon Stephanie Spellers, invitation, that first type of welcome, is represented by the open door. All are welcome. Come on in. But there's an invisible asterisk after that phrase. All are welcome if you leave your sins, like your sexuality, at the door, right? All are welcome if you don't need a wheelchair ramp or closed captions or fragrance-free environment. All are welcome if you can make a financial pledge. The expectation of the inviting congregation is that everyone who comes in will fit the existing norms for who we are and how things are done here. It wants to grow, but only with people who are like us. Make sense? We've probably all experienced something like that at some point in our lives, that invitation type of welcome. Inclusion, that second type of welcome, is represented by a desire for diversity and surface level attempts to acknowledge people who are different from the norm. So we might march in pride, but we don't have a gender neutral bathroom. We might put up a Black Lives Matter banner, but on Sundays we only use music and readings by white people. We might fill our website with images of children, but when parents with young kids attend, they get disapproving looks when their kids make noise during service. The expectation of the inclusive congregation is that if we add on top of the way we do things here in small ways, people who are different from our norm will feel at home. But we put the burden on them to fit in. The inclusive congregation wants to be a place where lots of different people can find a home, but it doesn't acknowledge what a difference our differences make. Radical welcome, that third type of welcome, that's the practice of being transformed by relationships across lines of difference. Every time a new person visits or a new child is born into the church, those new people change our definition of us. We constantly practice curiosity about the different perspectives and needs within and outside our church and how they can influence the very core of who we are. The expectation of the radically welcoming congregation is that we will constantly be made new through our encounters with one another. Everyone contributes to the way we do things around here. The radically welcoming congregation is truly diverse. It expects and values change and transformation. So, invitation says, I'm having a dinner party. Everyone's welcome. Inclusion says, you are invited to my dinner party. I'm making lots of pasta. I hope you come. Radical welcome says, hey, I'm thinking of having a dinner party. When are you free? What do you like to eat? Are you vegetarian or gluten intolerant? Do you use chopsticks? Where should we gather? Do you feel the difference? The difference is relationship. Now, the temptation is to see this model as 3 stages. And honestly, that's what I thought it was when I first read about this model from Stephanie Spellers. But that's not how it works. You see, it's not stages. It's 3 completely different types of welcome. And inviting congregations think that welcome equals friendliness. So as long as they perceive themselves as friendly, if folks don't feel welcome, they must not belong here, right? Inclusive congregations think welcome equals surface level efforts to acknowledge difference. So as long as there's a rainbow flag or a ramp or a once a year gospel service, if folks don't feel welcome, that's their fault. They must not appreciate what we have done for them, right? So invitation and inclusion are actually barriers to radical welcome. To the radically welcoming congregation, welcome means personal and collective transformation. It means constantly seeking to expand our definition of us and removing the barriers that some of us face. It means practice, not perfection. I need radical welcome, transformational welcome. And my friends, my heart is heavy because I don't want to just find a home myself. I want Unitarian Universalism to be the saving power in my people's lives that I know it can be. I want to be able to tell Black trans women and struggling queer young adults and LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers that they can go to their local UU congregation in person or online and find healing and strength and resilience to keep up the fight for survival in a culture that is trying to annihilate them. But I can't, because I can't trust that their local congregation will even be safe for them, much less a place of resilience. I want the beloved trans members of First Unitarian and their loved ones to be able to feel a sense of home here, just as I want this for trans folk in all of our congregations. I want them to be able to come to church without having to brace themselves for the pain of people denying or resisting or belittling their needs. I want them to feel like they can bring all of who they are forward and be celebrated for doing so. And here's the thing. I know trans people aren't the only ones here who are yearning to experience this sort of welcome. I know we aren't the only ones here who have felt the saving power of Unitarian Universalism to transform hearts, remind us of our interconnectedness, and support us in loving one another across lines of difference. I know trans people aren't the only ones here who have felt the need to leave certain parts of ourselves behind, who have felt pressured to look or talk or act in ways that make us appear to fit in order to feel welcome here. You see, I'm not just in the ministry of welcome for myself. I'm in it for you, all of you, because I know that in order to survive this world, this dominant US culture of division and hatred and violence and environmental destruction, we need places like this one to be more than simply friendly. We need spaces like this one to be places where we can unlearn the judgments and assumptions and biases that have soaked into us from the outside world and practice healing the divisions that are tearing our communities and our world and our very souls apart. You see, my Unitarian Universalism is not a community where we are all the same and we get to relax on Sunday knowing that everyone else is just like us here, a collection of all the good ones who have all the answers. No, my Unitarian Universalism is a community where we are all different. And we take joy in learning about each other and sharing in our different ways of making meaning. And we care for one another and one another's people. And we never stop asking questions. My Unitarian Universalism is a community where none of us feels like we have to leave any parts of ourselves behind. If it doesn't sit right with you to know that despite your best intentions, there are people who need Unitarian Universalism but don't feel fully welcome here, people among you right now, and people like me and mine, the question is, what are you willing to do in order for that to change? How can you resist the urge to already have all the answers and be willing to ask more questions, try new things, and transform your heart? You see, being a welcoming congregation is not a static identity, any more than being an ally is. It's not a sign you can put up or a box you can check or a statement you can make that means every LGBTQ person coming into your virtual or physical space will feel welcome. Because being a welcoming congregation isn't something you are, it's something you do. Because welcome is a verb, it's an action, it's a spiritual practice. So I hope I can count on you to join me in this practice and open your hearts to everyone here who has the courage to share about their pain and real struggle to find a home here. Because radical transformational welcome is truly one of the most holy, heart transforming, and world changing things we can do together. Amen. Ashe. Aho. And blessed be.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never
never turning back. Sigamos adelante, siempre adelante, siempre adelante, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly, never turning back, never turning back. Amaremos con pasión, siempre con pasión, siempre con pasión, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reach across our border, reach across our border, reach across our border, never turning back, never turning back. Vivamos sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reunite the family, reunite the family, reunite the family, never turning back, never turning back. Familias reunidas, siempre reunidas, siempre reunidas, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, never turning back, 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 never turning back.
Peace. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community which burns in our hearts.
I'm Lynn Ann Wagner. My pronouns are she, her, hers. These are closing words for hard times by Maureen Killeran. No matter how weak or how frightened we may feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected. Every day, act so you may be a little more whole. Please join us for virtual coffee hour after the postlude using the usual Zoom link from the newsletter. Thank you.